Hi, everybody. Earl Fanatic here from Connected Colabs, and we're just waiting for the other speakers to jump over to speaker mode. So we're getting everybody kind of rolling in here. We got Randy, who just popped in, and we got the other folks. We were all just chilling in the speaker lounge. And there's Keith, who just rolled in. And we're just waiting on one more, Bryce. He may or may not have disconnected and is reconnecting. There he is.
There we go.
Yeah, so I was just updating my information.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to get cracking with the just the agenda here today. I'm going to do a quick kind of state of business update on, just where things are at and what's growing and what's dying. And then we're going to turn it over to the panel here. And then we're going to just do the panel presentation. And then after that, it's going to be open networking where we can all network. And I'm going to give you guys a crash course on how to use Remo and how to use all these different bits and pieces. Apparently, we were testing this earlier, and I can't share my screen and show up as a video at the same time. So I'm going to turn off my video in a quick second here to flip over to the screen, and then we're going to kind of go from there. But what you guys can do while I'm doing my presentation, which won't be very long, it's only about 10 minutes long, there's a section underneath the chat area where you guys can pop in, and in that chat area, so someone was asking. There's no Stefan tonight. He called in sick, sadly, this morning. So he's like, "Oh yeah, I can't make it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well that's fine. Everybody else is here, so we still got a panel, which is why we have at least 4 people on the panel in case one guy falls down. We still have 3 more. And if you guys take a look at the Q&A area, these are all the questions that everybody has submitted so far. If you want to enter a question, just pop your question into the Q&A section. For everybody as well, if you guys could vote on the questions, if you hit a little up button, you're going to see I guess the highest votes. We're going to answer those questions first, right? So there we go. So that's what we've done, and we're going to go from there. And people are voting already, so I know you guys. Oh, that's excellent. All right. So I'm going to get cracking. I'm going to turn off my camera for a quick second, switch over to the slides, and we're going to go from there. I'm going to go through a quick presentation, 10 minutes tops, and then once that's done, we're going to turn it over to the panel. So please vote while you guys are waiting or while you guys are listening to the presentation. So I'm going to hit share screen. First, I'm going to turn off my camera, share screen, turn on the presentation over here. And here we have the panel. We have everyone today except for Stefan, so Stefan couldn't make it. And my presentation is going to be really quick. It's going to be the top 100 fastest growing and declining categories in e-commerce. And this information was compiled March 2020 versus March 2019, which is interesting because we can take a look back and see how this data has played out, right? And we can see how I guess the world's reacted to this. So we're going to go from the top 10 first. Of growth. And the first thing I have here is dishwashing supplies. So dishwashing supplies grew an astounding 275% year over year from last year March to this year March. And my question is, what the hell were people washing their dishes with before that? So if you take a look at this, there's a company out there called Melaleuca. They sell dishwashing liquid, and they had to hire 50 employees and then 150 employees just to meet up with the demand for the crazy dishwashing that has occurred. And I think that's kind of interesting. Number 9, milk and cream grew 279% because I think people are drinking their coffee at home these days. So because they're drinking their coffee at home, you can take a look at how are Canadians consuming coffee during COVID. People are drinking way more coffee, so I guess you need more milk and cream since you can't go to Starbucks right now. Well, I guess you can now, but back then you couldn't. Weight training up 307%. Coronavirus has caused a home gym boom, sending companies scrambling. For the longest time, I couldn't buy weights for my home because everybody else bought weights, and then it went nuts. And now I'm still on the waiting list for a couple weights. So maybe eventually one day I will be buff. But I guess we'll see how that pans out. Number 7, fruit cups at 326%. Number 6, packaged food at 377%. Number 5, dried grains and rice, which I apparently forgot to find the picture. Oh no, I got it here. Dried grains and rice. There you go. Number 5 at 386%. Number 4, soup. Because I guess when you're stuck at home, that's all you can eat. 397% soup. Number 3, cough and cold went absolutely bonkers. Number 2, bread machines. I remember for a while, like that was a real thing. People were just buying bread machines like crazy. And number 1, disposable gloves. Everyone bought gloves, and now no one's wearing them and/or masks. So I guess we'll see how that goes. The top 10 in decline. Obviously, gym bags. Because when you can't go to the gym, you don't need a bag. Shoes, rash guards. That kind of makes sense. Women's swimwear, since you can't travel. Men's formal wear, because we can't party, I suppose. Bridal clothing. Oh man, I guess the weddings during COVID had to be interesting because you can't buy as much bridal clothing. Men's swimwear. I seriously considered putting a picture of that guy with the green, really terrible swimsuit for a second, but then I decided to save your eyeballs. Cameras, briefcases, and luggage and suitcases come in at number 1 for the top decline. But what was interesting was that the declines weren't as huge as the growths, right? So if you look at the growth, top 10, number 1 growth, it's up 670%, whereas the top decline is only at 77%. So people freaking out about like the market going down and everything going to hell in a handbasket, it actually didn't decline as hard as it rose. So you can see here from the numbers. And if anybody's interested in getting the entire list for top 100 growth and decline, you can just throw me an email, earl@mindofamarketer.net, and just send me an email that says send me the list. And I will happily send you over guys the list. Which brings us over into the next portion of the event here, where we've got the expert panel and networking. So I'm going to kill my share screen here for a second so we can go back to the camera and you can see our smiling faces. And I'm going to ask the panelists to hit unmute. And I see we've got some votes and we've got some Q&A here. If you guys have more questions, feel free to throw them in here, but I'm going to run through the questions we've got right now. And then if we have more questions, we can kind of build out from there and see how that comes to fruition. But we're gonna take a look at that for now. So right now, why don't we just go with the one that got the most votes? You guys didn't vote a whole whack ton. There's only 2 votes on it. But which businesses do you think are going to have the tough in the new normal? Say it again. Which businesses do you think are going to have the toughest time in the new normal? Since we've only got a handful of questions here, I only see about 7-10 questions. Why don't we just round table these things? Why don't we start with I'll just pick Randy. I'll pick on you first. Which businesses do you think are going to have the toughest time in the new normal? What do you think?
First off, there is no new normal. Get that out of there. We are in just a typical business thing that's changing, and you have to be prepared for all changes no matter what. But when it comes down to which businesses are going to have the toughest time, anyone that has been relying on one stream of traffic. Doesn't matter if you're bricks or mortar, if you're online, if you've been relying on one stream of traffic, you're going to get hooped. And the second one, if you have not been asking your client base what they need rather than you assuming it, you might as well just close up the doors. You're not going to be around the next 3 to 6 months.
Fair enough. Keith, you want to weigh in? Who do you think? Who do you think's not gonna have the tough time?
Well, I think it's already there to a certain extent. I think in reality, anything where there are crowds gathering, so event planners, wedding planners, events, all those things are really, I agree with Randy, there is no new normal really. I mean, I think it's going to be a long time before there is any kind of normal or any kind of settling of how things are going to work. I think online businesses are still going to thrive because I think we've gotten used to, it only takes 3 weeks to create a habit. I think people are very much in the habit of buying things online or shopping, getting the groceries delivered, things like that. So I don't see that changing a whole lot. I do see, places like travel agencies having huge struggles as well, not just event planners. They were already struggling because of all the online bookings that get done, but I think they're going to hurt even more so, in the new reality.
it's funny that we talk about travel and all these other pieces, but no one mentioned like airports and or cruise ships. so which can barely operate. So Bryce, why don't I leave that to you for final comments on that first question? What businesses do you think are going to have the toughest time in the new normal?
So I actually disagree with Randy. I think there is a new normal, and the new normal is basically pre and post digital. Because basically anybody that relied on being non-digital, having a brick and mortar, if you didn't have an online presence, you could still do business and have your business operate without the absolute necessity of being online and visible digitally. But now with how things have changed and how people connect with other people, that it's so important to basically seize your own digital real estate. Like a really good example is, because I'm in SEO, if you're not on the first page of Google when somebody's searching for something, you don't exist. Whoever's on the first page is who you get connected to. And because of what happened with COVID and so many different businesses that relied on people walking through the doors or relied on being on site, you guys made obvious examples of like cruise ships and airports and stuff like that. I have my stepmom actually still works for WestJet, and they reduced their employees to 30 people. 30.
Wait, whoa, 30.
30, and that's including management. So like there's minimal people, and every jet that you see that was flying, there's still costing somebody money. So like the fallout from this, we haven't really seen completely fall yet. Like we're still in the portion of things are happening, right? So to me, the new normal is going to be if you have a business at all and it's not online, you don't exist. So the new normal to me is getting your digital real estate in a position where you can connect with your market and your demographic. And if you're not able to do that, like Randy said, you might as well close the doors.
Fair enough. All right. Well, it's good. It's good that we have differing opinions on the board. It's not everyone just yes man. All say the same. It's nice to be able to see some juxtaposition on the floor. All right. The next one we've got here is, what business niches do you see working at the moment? What business niches do you see working at the moment? Well, I'm going to start with Bryce since you went last time. You're out there on the field. You're out there, talking to people all day long. Which businesses are working? So what's working? What's some good news? Tell us the good news.
Well, it's kind of interesting actually, because I've been talking to a number of different people in a number of different niches. It's kind of interesting what's really working and what's really not. So to give you a kind of an example is a little bit personal. My dad worked in oil for he's in Alberta and worked in oil for over 25, 30 years, something like that. And obviously when oil prices got negative, everybody got laid off. Oil's been hit really hard recently anyway, and COVID was kind of just the nail in the coffin for a lot of people up there. And besides a whole bunch of other types of stuff that have been going really bad, there's everybody's not working, right? And my dad was obviously one of them. And what happened in his neighborhood in particular, but a whole bunch of other neighborhoods up there as well, is that because everybody was staying at home, construction, renovation, all the stuff that everybody's been putting off for, who knows how long. Everybody's just like, all right, we're at home. We got to make this place look good. And all the stuff that I wanted to do, everybody's working on their house up there if they still have it. And so renovation,
right.
Cleaning, stuff that you don't do because you're working all the time, or you have the ability to go out and do stuff, and your home is really important. So people that have been like, well, I have to live in my place, and this one thing is really pissing me off, and I got to get this fixed. So renovation has gone not through the ceiling per se, but been a huge uptick in the types of stuff that people are doing to their homes, because they're like, well, this is my place and I have to spend a lot of time in it now, so I got to fix this. So that's one area that has had a significant uptick from the people that I've talked to.
Randy, why don't I go to you? Discussion around this a while back. We were actually having a back and forth discussion saying, guys, I'm taking an absolute beating here in Canada, But you're like, no, Earl, the exact same industries in the US were on the uptake. So why don't you kind of start off with that piece and then kind of give your own 2 cents? Like, what businesses do you see working at the moment?
In the U.S., plumbing, electrical, roofing, mechanics, delivery, booming. Out of control booming down there. Not so much up here. Pretty typical, though. For niches, working at the moment and into the future, it's going to be online education or education for big firms like Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. They're always looking for people to teach them funnels, digital marketing, how to do social media, all these things that they can't move fast enough, and someone by themselves or with a small team easily fill that gap, make 10, 15 grand a month just from one client.
I've been seeing the IT firms have been going absolutely bonkers because everyone and their dog now needs to have email on their home. Everyone has to be on a friggin' Zoom call. That's why I chose Remo for today, so it's just something different. And then, yeah, fair enough. Cool. Keith, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I would actually agree with both these guys in some ways. I'm a member of the Home Builders Association of Vancouver, and a lot of the builders that are out there are still building. And so really, if you're talking about possible things that are going to slide a little bit in the fall, I think that any of these companies that have been active, like in the construction industry, that had those opportunities to finish off jobs or big projects, they weren't really doing a lot of marketing, or they weren't able to do a whole lot of marketing. And so what we're seeing within that industry specifically is that it looks normal. It was declared an essential service and all those things, and really it does look normal. But I think when we get to the fall and this kind of starts to die down, projects start finishing, things like that, you're going to see that these guys are going to scramble for marketing, which leads me into the second part of the question, which is I really believe that marketing is going to be one of the most biggest booming industries that is out there, because people are looking for answers, whether it be digital marketing or, it's not going to be traditional, but it's how do I create a click funnel, or how do I update my website, or whatever it might be. How do I engage? And I think you guys as marketers are going to do really, really well as a result of that. I also see, to a certain extent, our industry, the consulting industry, becoming quite relevant as well, because they don't know what they're, there's a lot of companies out there we're discovering right now that are now coming to us. They're starting to see the end of that mess that was physical distancing, social distancing, things like that. And they can see, okay, we got to ramp up. And this is one of the things that we told our clients, and I've done a couple of webinars on early on in COVID, was, get prepared. Like, build those foundations, redo your website if you need to, figure out your marketing, all these things. Figure out all the things that you need to do so that when you're coming out of COVID, you are going to fly. And all of our clients, to a T, have all done that, and they're all seeing some really great success right now.
I actually was reading a book that was going through all the different marketing methodologies, and I've been marketing along. The thing is, one of the things that for long enough, you totally forget to be doing, and one of those things was just call your damn clients. Don't try to sell them anything. Don't try to do anything. Just call them, see how they're doing, and see how it goes. I'm like, that's a really good point. And I just started calling everybody. And then what happened was that when like now the things are starting to lift, everybody remembers that, hey, Earl called me. Hey, he does that thing. Oh, let's call Earl. And then all of a sudden my phone just went off the hook. And for like a week, I couldn't even go to the bathroom because it's like, oh my God, meeting, oh my God, meeting, oh my God, meeting. And it was all the people I had called up during that time frame. And yeah, so I didn't have my head screwed on straight, and I was just like, okay, what the hell do I do now? And I said, well, let's just call people and see how they're doing, because I'm doing terrible. How is everyone else doing? And then just walk them through it and see how things are going and help them any way you can, right? So I totally agree with that. So I think that answers that. What businesses do you see working at the moment? Keith, since you're on the roll.
Sorry, Earl, if I can just add one more thing to that. I know that I know that there's a lot of marketers out there. I know a couple for sure that were really focused on retail and helping retail businesses, and they're starting to shift to help, business to business as opposed to business to customers. And so it's quite interesting to see that shift and the pivots that you and I talked the other day. There's the best way you preserve your business right now is to pivot and do something completely different than what you're used to or comfortable with.
I was just on a call, I think it was 2 days ago. Yesterday was holidays, but it had to be 2 days ago. There's this giant brand and they're moving everything to online because all the stores that they held their stuff in are all done. So they're like, well, we need to put some stuff online because people still, they're actually getting that. But the store that people go to go buy their thing no longer exists or is still closed or can't open or whatever. So online, and they were talking about different strategies of what to do so to not piss off all the stores that did stick around. So
yeah, it's true.
So back to that, since Keith, you were on the roll anyways, what one thing are you seeing in businesses that cause them to be able to survive in the new normal? What are you seeing people do that makes them survive? You were just saying that they were prepping their website or just rejigging their marketing or doing whatever. What else? What one thing are you seeing the businesses that get them to survive in the new normal? What are you seeing? If you took one thing, what would it be?
So the one thing I think is adapting. So it's how you pivot. The pivot, the more success you're going to see coming through. And we're now 4 months into this. Companies that did it in the first couple of weeks or first month, you and I talked about this the other day. I know of a restaurant in South Surrey. They were a dine-in restaurant and a really nice, really good food. They went to curbside pickup and they were making more revenues doing curbside pickup than they were on their dine-in during COVID at the beginning. So really great indication that if you do these things quickly, and don't sit there and go, well, when I come out of it, because we've seen that as well in all our, no, you will die before that happens, right? So the quicker you can pivot, the quicker you can come up with some creativity. That's where, talking to any of us four will help, the listeners that are out there or the viewers. That's going to get them some lift just in that, right? And it's the structure that they create, beyond that.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Why don't we roll over to Randy? Randy, your thoughts, same question. What's the one thing you're seeing businesses that cause them to survive? So Keith was saying, adaptability and can they pivot? What's that you're seeing in the businesses that are surviving and thriving and doing well?
It never changes. Whether today, 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, it's fail fast. Keep testing and putting it out there and see what works and what doesn't work. The faster you do it, the quicker you'll be on your feet to take advantage of any new opportunities.
Fair enough. Nice and concise. Just screw up and see what happens, and then adjust, and keep adjusting. Okay, cool. Well, Bryce, then same question to you. What's the one?
Before you run over,
okay.
You have to give yourself permission to fail. And to know you're going to fail, because it's not right or wrong, it's did this work versus did that work. And too many people are hooked up on or stuck on, oh my God, I failed again. I was like, no, that didn't work. Go back to Thomas Edison and 10,000 times to create the light bulb. Give yourself permission to fail fast, keep trying new things. And that's how you adapt to whatever's happening in business. Off to Bryce.
Agreed. Off to Bryce.
Thanks, guys. I agree with both of those wholeheartedly. And in my experience in business and what I've seen so far, and especially in the last 4 months, there's basically been two prevailing thought processes or schools of thought, if you will. And it's basically the first is kind of a wait and see type of situation where they're like, I don't want to invest money. I'm just going to see and try and ride it out. And I think that has been a big reason for a lot of the downturn in a lot of industries, besides the fact that they weren't set up to deal with something like this, but also because they pulled back basically instead of moved forward. And the other school of thought is basically like, and it kind of summed up in this quote: "When there's blood on the streets, buy." And basically, what that means is when everybody pulls back, that creates opportunity for other people, and especially in our particular niche, SEO. Basically, when people pull back in SEO, they're literally throwing away like years of progress by stopping what they were doing, which gives an opportunity for the people that were not high up or not in a pole position or not in the best position to take advantage of that and move into a space that people are moving back from. So if there's one thing that I would say, and it's kind of something that you guys touched on as well, is that, this is an opportunity. Basically, full stop. This is an opportunity, and the people that take advantage of it will. And as Keith said, the people that saw that opportunity right away, like, okay, something's happening. I got to prepare for this, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. Those people are still successful, and it's that mentality and mindset of no matter what happens, I'm going to overcome whatever challenges come my way that leads people to success. And Grant Cardone was, very vocal about, saying stuff like that, 10x whatever it takes to be successful. And COVID is a great example of that. Like the people that are still successful had a mindset of, it doesn't matter what's going to happen, I'll find a way to succeed.
That's a good stance to definitely have. Actually, just to chime in, since Stefan's not here, I will be the fourth and the MC. So there was a martial arts school out in Coquitlam, and they hard spun really quickly over to online classes. And what they ended up doing was putting a bunch of their classes online. All of them were on Facebook Live, on Zoom, etc., all for free. A lot of their classes. Obviously, they wouldn't put the black belt stuff there, but they put a lot of the beginner stuff up there, and all the beginners were ecstatic because they could still. All the parents loved it because it's primarily a kids' school, and it kept all the kids, jumping up and down and busy, and not just sitting fat on the couch, right? And they pivoted fast, right? And then I saw a bunch of the opposite direction, like a bunch of gym owners were like, well, the gym's closed, no one can come here, so I guess we're just gonna sit on our thumb and do nothing. And they just all died, right? I watched a bunch of gym owners die, and I think we saw, I think one of the major gym chains just went belly up and went, that's it. Whereas there's these tiny little chains I see, they again adapted the other way around, and they're all flourishing, and they got way more subscribers, way more people, way more everything, because people just didn't want to get fat on the couch. So I guess that's what they wanted to do. There was one who was posting here, actually. It was Vanessa. Vanessa had a question. She asked, it's a two-parter question. Do you find that people are looking for you to fail? Do you find that people are looking for you to fail? And then part two is, how do we combat? And Randy's smiling, and so I'll let Randy go first.
Haters gotta hate. More haters that you gather, the better off you'll be, because you're going to be the one laughing to the bank. They're going to be the ones still stuck on the couch doing nothing.
I wholeheartedly agree. Keith, what do you think? Do you find people are looking for you to fail, and how do you combat that?
Well, here's the thing. I don't care what someone else thinks, period. I mean, I've been in business for 34 years. And if I took, every person that didn't like what I did, and every time, I quit the business, I wouldn't be where I am today. I've had two very solid businesses, very successful. And I'll tell you this, the more haters you get, obviously the more popular you are, and the more business you're probably going to get. I agree with Randy to a certain extent that, you know what, haters are going to hate. So that just means that you're on the map, You're on their radar.
Excellent.
I've seen that before. I've been part of that before.
Fair enough. All right, Bryce, you want to chime in here? How do you find people are looking for you to fail, and how do you combat it?
Just to expand a little bit on Keith's point there, haters are a barometer of your success, because if you're not doing something that's divisive or that has a lot of haters, you're not making a big splash, and it's obviously not something that's groundbreaking. Because anytime anybody does something that's not conventional or that not normal in some way, there's going to be people that are like, no, that's too crazy, that's too edgy, that's too whatever. So if you have people that are hating on you for whatever reason, probably means you're doing something that's good. Because especially if you're in an industry with a lot of established players don't like new people on the block because that ruins their market share. So, there's always going to be haters no matter what you do. And for a variety of reasons, like there's trolls, there's actual competition, there's people that just want to make you fail so that they can succeed. There's a whole host of different reasons that people would oppose whatever you're trying to do. And the more and bigger people that oppose you, it's clear, it should be clear that you're doing something that has value because somebody's opposing it. So, yeah, if people do that, let them talk, man. What's the quote? All news is good news.
All right. If you're not making a strong enough, and I know Keith want to say something here. If you're not making a it should attract the right type of customers, so that's what everyone's trying to do, attract the right type of customers. But a good marketing message, a great marketing message, also pushes away the wrong kind of customers. So if you can make something that's good and brings in the right kind of people, and bad, so it pushes away the wrong kind of people, you're going to have a better business overall because you're going to have better customers, right? And you're going to want to work with those customers. And if you can put up those walls where the bad customers don't come in because they don't fit, then you've saved yourself, a bunch of heartache anyways, right? So, so if they're looking for those haters, I mean, they're going to come, but, make messages that make them hate you more. So, because what happens is that makes other people love you more, right? And it's like an earworm. When you hear a song and it just gets stuck in your head, there's two kinds of earworms. The song that gets stuck and you love that song, you go, oh yeah, this song. Or it's the song you hate the song. It's like, oh, this is the song, right? Exactly. And if you can build that earworm in your marketing message, then you again, it's just more people will like you, more people will hate you. That's just how it works. So Keith, you had a point you wanted to make, yeah?
Yeah, actually, a couple of things that come out of this. First of all, how unique is your product? So we have a company that we're working with right now that has a completely new concept in a very well-established market, and they are getting like huge interest in their product and their services. So how unique is your product? Make it unique, and of course you're going to get more haters from the establishment because you're their competition and you're pivoting and shifting. The other one is look at some of the more successful recent entrepreneurs that are out there, the Elon Musks of this world, right? They came out of the last crisis. And so if you're looking to do something different, go and explore it. Go and follow exactly what Randy said. Be prepared to fail, but fail fast and go find something else. Like resilience is one of the biggest pieces of being an entrepreneur. The more resilient you are, the more you can get up off the canvas, as they say, the more options and the more chance of being successful you're going to be.
Even by complete accident, right? It's just because
sometimes.
It's interesting you say that, Keith. YouTube started off as a dating site. And
I forgot about that.
And what they wanted you to do was to upload a video of yourself wooing whoever you wanted to go boff. And when it didn't succeed, they didn't just stop. They went, let's try a video streaming platform. And you know who YouTube is now. So Keith has got it right on the head there. It's like, fail fast and change what you have. Go ahead there, right?
Yeah, and I just want to kind of illuminate this point a little bit further. One of the books that I'm reading right now is called Mastery by Robert Greene. And they brought up an example of like one of the most, the biggest technological advances that humanity's ever that humanity's ever made. Sorry, and basically it was Orville and Wilbur Wright that were the race to create the first flying machine. And there's two brothers that basically really understood mechanical knowledge against literally everybody on the planet that had big bucks and all this technical knowledge. And they basically figured it out by like Keith and Randy were saying, evolving designs, failing so much, and making things happen at a breakneck speed that you just learn so much and so quickly that you'll be able to use that knowledge somehow to do something. And YouTube is a great example. I'm actually a really great example. Like I've tried to do probably 50 deals that failed, and I've got a couple that are succeeding now. But determination and resilience, like they said, is such a key part of being in business. You just have to assume you're going to fail. Like you just accept you're going to fail. And learn from every failure that you have. Eventually, that will translate into a win. And I'm throwing down quotes that I barely remember, but it's the winners only win because they never get tired of losing, and they always pick themselves back up after a loss. So, yeah, great points, guys.
When I very first started, I'm a complete idiot. When I very first started this, they were saying something like 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 1 in 7 businesses fail within the first X number of years, blah blah blah. So I'm like, well, then screw it. Why not just start 5? Then one of them's going to work, right? So the problem with that is that all of them worked at the same damn time, and then it's like, oh god, and then I had a whole other problem, and then they all filed at the same time because again I got that same problem. You can't do too many things at once. But that being said, why don't we spin it from the failures and the haters to something a little more positive? The next question, and thank you for audience participation, Vanessa. I hope we answered your question. And Troy says hello to Pierre. What was your most successful business? Why don't we start with Keith? We got some good stories. What was your most successful business? So part 1, how did you just start it? I'll do a 2-parter. I'll just grab 2 questions and kill them with one, Keith.
Well, so I would say the one I have right now is actually very successful. I've been building a practice for about 14 years and really gotten to a point where I'm quite happy with the progress. But the progress has really only happened in the last 3 or 4 years. And it was a matter of going through some education. It was having great resources and great contacts and a great network like yourself, Earl, and Randy. I've worked with both you guys at different times, and it's building your network. So like for me, what's made this successful is, first of all, knowing the structure that I needed to create. So having that vision of where I wanted to go. Secondly, it was having the people around me as a team to be able to help me. And so our consultancy is growing, it grew significantly last year. Like it was a big year for us. This year will be just as significant because people are looking for help, right? I don't know if that answers your question quite, Earl, but
Successful businesses, the current one, the consultancy. What inspired you to start it?
And I've had a very successful business before this. I mean, I was in food manufacturing for 20 years, and it was a very successful business doing a niche market, and we were blazing trails with that. That's why I kind of said, like the Elon Musks of this world. We pioneered.
So why don't we tie those 2 things in? And the part 2 was what inspired you to start it. So you said you were, and I know the story obviously, but you were really good in the food industry, and you switched over to consultancy. What made you to switch from food to consultancy?
Couple things. First of all, I had bad consultants while I was in the food industry, so they were overvalued. They were overvalued and overpriced. And for me, that was something that really irked me because I felt like here are business owners that put their dreams on the line. They sacrifice, they blood, sweat, and tears. They don't make money for the first while, but they do it because it's their passion. And yet then there's, people out there, they look to trust to help them build their business. And if anything, they, and the situation I was in was they took my money and ran, basically. So when I sat down after I'd sold my first business and kind of said, okay, well, look, how can I change this industry? So I became very focused on success and results than I did on the money. So if you look at our Facebook pages and our websites and things like that, we have a ton of reviews and testimonials from people. And it's because they know that we genuinely care about them. And so the successes that came, what inspired me to do this is because I actually care about entrepreneurs and successful businesses. Families are affected. And when I sold my first business, my family was affected. I went through divorce 2 years later. And it can completely be attributed to that, right? So, like families, friends, it's a ripple effect. It affects more people than people really realize. And because of that, I see that, and it's a shame to see people lose their dreams because either they didn't have the right guidance, or they ran out of money, or whatever it might be. It irks me.
You're trying to just fill that gap where you had the gap.
Yeah. Sorry. So thank you. So for us, my thing is that when we go out and help somebody, we genuinely do it, and it's from the heart. It's not because ego or money or anything like that. So I get a lot of fulfillment.
Well, thank you for that.
I get a lot of fulfillment out of this, and it inspires me on a daily basis to sit down and talk to people about their businesses.
Very cool. Well, now I'm going to make Randy have to follow that. So, Randy, it's your turn now. You have to. Maybe I should make Keith go last. So, what's your most successful business, and what inspired you to start it?
I would say I've had one most successful business. The most successful businesses I've ever had is they weren't a real business, nor was it work. It was just a ton of fun helping out my clients, and it was delivering the service was networking, and then morphing that into the first commercial ISP in Vancouver in '94. But that was fun. It wasn't a business. It was just tons of fun and work, 80, 90-hour weeks, but it wasn't work. To me, that was the most successful businesses I've ever had. That's it.
And what was the inspiration behind what the hell inspires you to run an 80, 90-hour week? Just because it's fun.
It was that's all it was. It was fun figuring out the networking and looking at the business and making sure the network would reflect how the business works, not wrap the business around the network. And I know Keith would appreciate that. He's the man that later on, when he told me in those kind of more succinct terms, it was a little aha going, yeah, exactly what I did. Don't change the business to suit the technology. So that was a lot of the fun where I got to work with the businesses, and I just fell into it, really. That's what I love doing, and it just went from there.
Excellent.
It was not planned at all.
So very, very cool. I was drag kicking and screaming. I get where you come from. Bryce, you want to weigh in? What was your most successful business, and what inspired you to start it?
I haven't started my most successful business yet, because the business I'm going to have in the future will be infinitely more successful than I am right now. To date, just like I was thinking as you guys were talking about all the businesses I've tried to start that failed, I think I'm up into about 5 now. One of the ones that's still working is the first actual business that I got going that was successful was flipping cars with my mechanic of like 12 years. So we'd buy transmission's broken or something, and put in a new transmission, put it up on Craigslist, and you make like $200 to like $500 that I'd split with my mechanic, and something simple like that. It's so cool to me, as because I'm first generation netizen, so I grew up with the internet, that there's so much opportunity for somebody to make a business. For example, my girlfriend sells clothes. She buys clothes at like thrift stores and stuff that's still like in good condition. Makes usually 100 to 300% on every single thing that she sells. And it's a huge industry down in the States, and becoming more so here now. And there's a whole bunch of opportunities like that have basically been or been made available because of the internet and e-commerce and stuff like that. And so now when I look at businesses that I want to be a part of, and some of this comes from Earl's input, is that I want something that can scale really well. Like if it can't scale to a certain size that like it's going to make me this much money, I'm not that interested in doing it. Like obviously I still have my car flipping business that's, you know, pocket change comparatively, but the training that you get setting something up yourself that's like very low risk, very low inventory, very low what's the word, startup capital. It's so much good training for doing larger businesses, and that's part of where I think some of my success is and will come from, is that I had a bedrock of, okay, this is the issue, okay, overcome, you know, now we got to think of this, now we got to do this. You know, it's a process, it's an evolving process, and I love being a part of it. I love being a part of business and helping other people with their business and helping people in general. So my real love now in business comes from sales, because being able to help people with their business, which is essentially what I do, I get a lot of gratification from that. So my favorite thing so far has been the business that I'm in now, but the businesses that I'll start in the future will completely overshadow what I'm doing now. So
awesome. All right, well, I'm going to check those two off as completed. We've only got asking what are the votes for. The votes are for which one we're going to answer first. So if more people can vote on it, then we'll push it up higher. But I'm also jumping into the chat, answering questions from the chat, pulling questions from the Q&A. All the questions from the Q&A are stuff that came from our Facebook post, our Meetup post, and a bunch of other posts. And so I do all of those. I just collected all of them and threw them in the big Q&A pile. So if you guys have more questions, feel free to put them in the group chat, and I'm happy to hit up the guys while we're still here. We've got about another 10 minutes or so before we open up the floor to networking, and I'm gonna give a quick brief on how to use this platform for networking. The reason I picked this platform is because it's actual open networking. You any table you want and go say hi to people, and you only see the cameras of the people at the table. So that's really cool. There are 1, 2, 3 questions left. Number one is, what strategies can you share to scale a business in today's market? What strategies can you share to scale a business in today's market? Randy, why don't you go first, because I've been always putting you in the middle, so you get to go first this time.
Oh yeah, just like the red-headed stepchild.
You're the middle kid. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we love you, but not as much. I was just saying. So scaling.
I dislike the term scaling because it's misused and it's not the correct way to look at it. It is, if you have a business that can grow, and not just for growth's sake, then do that. But to make sure we're on the same page, throw the term out, relook at your business, and go back to what Bryce said, where SEO is a long-term plan. You can't, when you start it, you can't stop it. Now is the time to do pay-per-click, because a lot of businesses are not doing it. Facebook, Google Display Network, there's a lot of it, Twitter, LinkedIn. The cost per click and cost per acquisition of a client is so much cheaper right now. Now's the time to do it. But don't do it just to scale. Will your business actually grow, or will you blow it apart? And most businesses are going to blow themselves apart because they have no systems in place. They are the bottleneck. You can talk to Earl about systems. He's a system guy like I used to be. We're both in marketing now, but we get to see those are where the issues are at. Tie your shoelaces first. And that's what Keith was talking about earlier on. Fix the problems before you go out there and grow what you've got. And talk to Keith.
Otherwise you grow the problems, right? And just make them faster.
Yeah, you grow your problems, and then you just might as well shoot yourself. So you talk to someone like Keith first about your business issues before you talk to, Randy or Bryce or Earl, to make sure your business can actually handle it.
Right, because if you give it to me and we light it up, and your business can't handle it, I actually by marketing too hard. Like, oh, look at all the orders. Oh my God, what do we do now? And then all the customers are mad, right? So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I didn't know you could do that. And I'm real sorry for the businesses I killed, but I did my job as a marketer. So, but definitely systems, definitely.
There's a book out there called Crossing the Chasm.
I love that book.
It's a great book. And the guy who created Oracle and grew it, their whole point was to grow it, and who cares about the clients? Then to cross the chasm, can't be that same person who grew it. It has to be the person to maintain it. They got a new CEO in there, and he went back in and fixed all the problems, but they could do it because they had the cash flow. So it's different thinking at each step of the way, at what phase you're in, but still going back to systems got to be put in place. And if you're the bottleneck, yeah, don't do it.
All right. Well, with that being said, why don't we move over to Keith for the systems portion? What strategies can you share to scale a business in today's market? I guess you're going to talk about the system to help scale so everything doesn't catch on fire.
It's interesting because I love being on a panel for 3 other marketers, because nobody in all this has talked about profitability. Nobody has talked about actual, like how, scaling is great, but let's make sure you're profitable first. Like if you're selling something 100%. At a loss, the last thing you want to be doing is actually selling 1 million of them. So
I did that by accident for a customer. It was a bakery. Yeah. And they didn't know that their best-selling cookie actually cost them money.
It's amazing. It really is. And actually, coming out of my first business, that was one of the things that I really learned. Such an important lesson. We talk about learning opportunities and failing forward, things like that. I will tell you that business, I was great at generating revenues. But that business, because it was a food business, like you don't make a lot of money in the food business, especially when you're doing manufacturing or wholesaling, actually. So, that for me is the biggest thing first, is are you actually profitable? And when we go and we discuss working with a client, that's one of the first things we assess is, are you actually profitable in all this? And then if you're not, how do we make you profitable? And with that's when we typically grow some systems and processes and get them in some structure. Then we kind of hand them over to you guys with a little more of a message as well, right? So in talking scalability, well, okay, first of all, are you scalable? Like, can you remove yourself from your business and actually grow it, right? So if you are your business, first of all, your business isn't worth anything to anybody who might want to buy it. And secondly, you're going to be working that 80 or 90 hours a week that Randy talked about and Earl talked about, right? So the reality of it is scalability is important, whether you like that terminology or not, Randy. But I mean, it's about growing your business. And can you do it in a way that there's structure and process? And so for us, we offer a 16-point system that we actually put together that assesses your business properly and gives you the tools that you need to be able to scale up. And then within that process, that is one of the things that we look at as profitability, because, oh man, people make so many mistakes attempting to, as one of my mentors says, swim in the sea of red blood, right? You've got to have that cool blue ocean, that you are a unique product, doing a unique thing, selling at a unique price, and standing in that place so that, and helping people understand why the value of what you're doing is better than the competition who is trying to undercut you.
Fair enough. Well, Bryce, it's your turn. Scale stuff or not, depending if you're Randy or Keith.
I actually really like the points that you guys brought up, and especially something you said, Keith, mentorship. And it's funny that you said that we haven't talked about systems because we're all marketers, and I fully agree that we take a business after that's already set up. We basically assume, a marketer says, okay, you want our services, you're ready to scale. The systems and stuff isn't generally something that we look at because it's not in our purview. And somebody like yourself and business coaches and mentors, especially, that's their job, and is to really figure out if a business can scale. And this is kind of what I wanted to touch on, because mentorship has been such a huge impact in my life, and business life and all that sort of stuff. Is that you as a person have a limited amount of time in your life, and you're exposed to a limited amount of information. So to maximize your business, you have to connect with, talk to, and get the information and knowledge of other people that have already been successful in some way, shape, or form. And Earl's a great example of that, is that he shares his knowledge in a very generous way for as many people as possible to benefit from that extended knowledge that he's gained over his business career. So the year before, I can't remember, set up a group called 100K Mentor, which was basically like, hey, I'm Earl. I've got all this cool knowledge. Come and hang out and have a good time and learn some stuff. It's stuff like that really allow businesses on a certain level to take the next step up. So like we're talking about scaling, but it's more about taking the next step than taking it to the moon. You have to be ready to take stuff to the moon. And like he said, having the system set up to do that is very important, and that's what you would get a consultant to do, right? And for a lot of instances, but I think it's just as important to have somebody that is on your team with your best interests at heart, like a business coach or some sort of mentor, to set your business up or your personal life to be able to do that, to be able to handle. If you've got kids and a house to run and a business to run, there's a lot of things that are happening, right? And having somebody that can, advise you more than just, fixing specific things in the business, and advise you on how to deal with this or how to do that, I think is really, really, really important. And it really shows, at least from the people that I've seen, the people that have been really successful that I've personally seen have all had some sort of mentorship from people that have been successful, that have taught that forward into the next generation. And I hope to be one of the people that can do that as well, because basically, like you said, a blue ocean strategy where a rising tide lifts all boats is something I very much believe in. So mentorship and learning your trade would be the number one thing for me, because if you don't have the personal determination and resiliency to handle scaling, it doesn't matter how high you go, you're just going to fall just as fast.
For your input, we're at the end of the panel portion, and it was a blast sitting on the panel with you three. I like it when you guys agree. I like it when you don't agree. I think I prefer it when you don't agree. It's more fun. But there were two questions we couldn't get to. We can probably get them to in the next set for the next time. Want to come join us again. What big mistakes are businesses making and not adapting to the new normal? And then another one from Rohit was, if we see the top 10 growing and declining businesses, we can attribute them to COVID, but is it good data to learn from building long-term strategy? Yes and no. That's a really good question. I wish we got to that one. So like we have to get more people to vote for it. But just taking the data as itself and shot. Remember, like the whole March thing, and the reason why I chose the March month one was because it was the most popular one. Plus, it was the one that we can how kind of played out in the news. So if you look at the news posts I put after the original posts, those were like months after. So you can see this data kick in, and then you can see all the news kind of follow it afterwards, and kind of get extrapolate data from there. So you can see patterns, right? So it's not necessarily learning how to market through COVID. It's everything happens in cycles and patterns anyways. So you want to be able to be cognizant of the cycles and patterns, whether you're doing marketing, whether you're trading options, Forex, whatever, everything is in cycles, right? So definitely take a look at those cycles. I am going to turn off my camera and switch the screen here to give you guys a crash course on how to do the free-form networking. You can see who's sitting at which table. So if you really like Keith or Bryce or Randy and you want to stalk them, you can feel free to stalk them. Randy's running away apparently after this. So what's going to happen now? I'll turn off my camera. I'm gonna switch over to the share screen, and then ran away. Or his internet died, who knows. And I'm gonna walk through what the freeform networking looks like, and then I'll let you guys go to it. And we've got this room for another hour after I'm done showing it to you. So give me 1 second here. I'll turn off the camera. I'm gonna share the screen. Share Mr. Screen here. And this is freeform networking. This is a new platform to many of you guys. A lot of you haven't seen Remo before, for the folks who I've invited and have come. So this is what a table looks like in Remo. You'll enter Remo. You'll be sitting at a virtual table. This is a picture of representative view. If there's another table you want to join, you just click on that table and you will join that table. So what happens is that when you start interacting, people want to trust you and get to know you. So it helps if you turn off your camera and turn on turn on your camera, turn on your mic, and make that happen so they can see your smiling face at the table. And everyone at the table appears at the top of your screen, so you can see all the people who are at your table. If you guys filled in all of your stuff, you can click on your chat button and you can chat if you like. You can click on the guest's profile picture to learn more if they filled out their stuff. So when you guys popped in here originally, you can put in your LinkedIn account, you can put in your Twitter account, you can put in a bunch of other stuff. You can put in, you can even put a calendar link on this thing. I didn't realize until afterwards. I didn't put mine, but and so you can learn interesting things about everybody else, connect, book them, message them, and chat back and forth. And if you want to keep going from there, that is it. So happy networking, and thanks for attending the first portion. I'm going to hit stop on this. It's going to stop the recording. We'll have the recording as well. Let's kill the share screen. Let's turn the camera back on. And so what's going to happen is that you will all be kind of just dropped into the networking area. It is free form networking. And you can see the number of people on here right now. So yeah, feel free to join the table and have a chat, have a discussion, and enjoy. There's no structure for this one. It's just free form. Another table. Keith has a question.
No, actually, I just have a comment. I want to thank you, Earl, for having us all on and to be able to talk to these people and help them with some of their questions and concerns within their businesses. And I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Appreciate it. I was just about to thank you all for that. That was literally my next piece. Just thank you to the panel for coming on board. Price to say thank you. I'm sure Randy wants to say thank you. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. And so I'm opening up the networking. Thank you so much for the panel for coming in and sharing your expertise. Obviously, this was all recorded as per request. And so if anyone wants to watch it again and relive the questions and see the stuff that goes on, I will figure out how to distribute the recording once I figure out how to do that, because this is our first time running Remo. But yeah, I will see you all in the networking. Happy networking, everybody. I'll see you in the rooms.